Hey guys, what's going on? Zazubaar here. I'm trying something a little different today. I'm going to be doing a sort of vlog type of deal. That's why I got the webcam on and embracing the shitty quality of my webcam. So the purpose of this kind of experiment is I want to see if I can do like a regular news show in the most lazy, like lack of effort on my part way possible. Not really. Basically the premise of this is some days I'm just going to wake up in the morning, get something to eat, come back, and I'm going to go through my Facebook feed and go through all of the news that I care to talk about that I see on this webcam. Because that's what I do every morning anyway. I go through my Facebook feed and all my social media, and I check up on news and stalk people's lives that I care to stalk and all kinds of other, wholesome things. So I figure, why not do that on a webcam and talk about some news? Because we do news on SOS and everything, and it's always a blast to have Andres do all the work for that and then make amusing commentary over it. But I don't get to talk about a lot of stuff that happens just kind of during the week that, like even smaller stuff that I see and I'm like, oh, I kind of have an opinion on that, and I never, ever do videos on it just because I just don't want to sit down and do a video on it. But I figure with this kind of like really laid back kind of way of doing it, just sitting in front of the webcam and going through my Facebook feed, that should be pretty easy to get done on the regular. So we'll see how this goes. If it's really terrible, then I might not even release it, but I don't think it'll be that bad. So we're just going to go through my Facebook feed. We're going to see a bunch of news, and I'm going to talk about it as I care to. So let's just go through my Facebook feed here, and we'll see if there's anything that's going on that I care to mention. So Godzilla Oblivion #3, it looks like just came out. I just had that and I lost it. I haven't been reading that series. Here, let me see. Let me click on the link. This is on Toku Legion. This is on Kaiju Battle, Home of the Monsters. I don't know what this website is. I've never been on it before. It looks like a vaguely Godzilla website. And, ooh, that's a cool cover. So Godzilla Oblivion is the current miniseries. I think it's a miniseries that IDW is doing for their Godzilla license, which is nice because I'm glad that they're continuing. And they announced another one recently called Godzilla Rage Across Time, which I believe is the whole premise is like they're putting Godzilla back in like feudal Japan, which is really interesting and potentially dumb. I don't know. They've done stuff like that before. Godzilla comics. There was a comic called Godzilla Past, Present, Future that I've talked about before, a Dark Horse one, where Godzilla gets sent back in time, and that was really dumb, so who knows how this new one will go, but it's certainly interesting. But Oblivion has been going on for a while now, and I haven't read it, really. I skimmed through the first issue when I was at Midtown Comics recently in Manhattan, and I just wasn't into it. Like, I read the first couple pages, and the art didn't really do it for me, and the story is... The premise is compelling, but what I saw of how it was executed did not make me want to read it. So I'll just give the basic premise for anybody who maybe hasn't read it, or I'll just, comment on it for people who have and maybe want to know my thoughts. The idea seems to be based on what I skimmed. And bear in mind, I skimmed the first issue. I didn't read it, so my opinion is sort of almost invalid, really. But you know what? I'm going to say it anyway because who cares? So this is a vlog. Look at the quality of this webcam. Who watching this really cares? So in it, there's these scientists, and they open up this interdimensional portal, I think is what it was. And that's what it ended up doing. I don't know if that was their idea when they created this portal. But they go through it, and they end up in another universe, and it's completely decimated, I think. It's like a post-apocalyptic type of thing. And there's soldiers running around everywhere. And they're screaming about, like, you gotta get away, there's something coming, And there's a monster. I forget who the monster was. I think it was Ghidorah. It looks like this series is primarily focused on Godzilla and Ghidorah, which is kind of interesting and makes me maybe want to read it a little more just because it's just them, and that's kind of interesting to see Godzilla and his main adversary just by themselves in a book. That's kind of interesting, but Godzilla popped up out of nowhere when they went to this other universe, and very quickly, and this was the thing that kind of turned me off to it, there's one of the soldiers that was in this other universe, grabs these scientists, brings them into like a jeep or a plane or something, I don't remember, and basically explains to them the premise of this universe, which is all these monsters are destroying the world, and Godzilla is the one keeping them all in check and killing them off. And we have to keep him happy in order to, make sure he kills all the other monsters. Interesting. And I was like, and don't make me think like this book is like complete garbage or anything. I don't know. I haven't read it, but that premise is really interesting. But then what happens is very quickly they go back to the other universe. Like, we're in this other universe for like 2 seconds. This universe with this interesting idea behind the human's relationship with Godzilla in terms of almost worshiping him as a god in a different way, with worshiping him as a protector, where it's like, we have to keep him happy because he's the one who's protecting us from the other monsters. That's really interesting. Problem is, then they go right back to what I guess is supposed to be the real world, or just the universe we started in, and Ghidorah comes through. And, I mean, spoilers for the first issue, by the way. I'm sorry if I spoiled that for anybody. But that's the end of the first issue. Ghidorah comes through and is now in the other universe. And I guess that's the idea. And again, that premise is interesting, but, man, I didn't like the art. And just the really rushed exposition behind Godzilla's relationship with the people and the monsters in that other universe. I was just like, I don't know if I can get into this. It just looks really rushed and kind of not necessarily in detail that I think this premise maybe deserves, but I don't know. Again, I haven't technically read it. I just skimmed it. That was my impression. So that's my impressions of Godzilla Oblivion. Issue 3, it looks like, is out today? Today is Wednesday, so it is New Comic Day, so that does make sense. There's a variant cover by James Stokoe that looks pretty cool, but the normal cover for this is pretty cool as well. I'm not putting pictures up for this just for the sake of laziness. But it's Godzilla in the background, like a silhouette, and then there's a nuclear symbol as the second layer covering him, and then in the center, it's like Ghidorah's 3 heads like swirling together into a circle. It's a bit hard to describe. You can look it up, Godzilla Oblivion issue 3, but it's really cool, so you can look out for that if you've been reading that series. Let's see what else we've got. I'm gonna go down more because I kind of started more towards the top. I'm not really seeing a lot of news is the thing. I'm seeing a lot of like just stuff that people on my feed are posting. So let's. Oh, my Facebook feed is messing with me. People are like doing things and it's interfering with what I'm trying to see. Screaming Christian is in Target stores confronted by customer, then escorted out by security. I don't know if I want to read that. It sounds controversial and dumb, and like everybody involved was probably an idiot. Seeing some stuff about Hillary Clinton. That's great, of course. Not really. She's pretty bad. I don't like her. It's my opinion. Doesn't really mean anything though. Sorry guys. I thought there would be more like overt news. I think what I'll do next time is I'll save a few things that strike my attention and then kind of save those. Ooh, what's this? Exclusive. John Salis will direct and write Django Lives with Franco Nero. I'm assuming that this is not a sequel to Django Unchained. I think the idea is supposed to be, based on the picture I'm seeing here, I think this is supposed to be another movie in the old Django series from like the 60s, I guess that was. Let's see. Django Lives. He's still played by Franco Nero. So yeah, this is definitely not like the Jamie Foxx Django. But, I don't know. Yeah, no, it's going on about how it has nothing to do with Django Unchained. But apparently, it looks like it's set in real time, 50 years after the first one. Django's now a horse handler and an extra on the set of D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, because it would be like sort of the 20th century at the very least. So that's interesting. I might have to go back and watch the old Django movies and then see this because it sounds interesting. And then, I mean, it looks like the original director is back, and yeah, I don't know. I don't see any reason for this not to be kind of awesome, especially if those old ones are any good. I've never actually seen the original Django movies. They could be absolute garbage, but it doesn't seem that way. It looks like I'm seeing here the first Django came out in '66, so yeah, that's exactly 50 years ago. Interesting. More Dat Boy memes. If anybody watching is familiar with the "It's Dat Boy, oh shit, what up" memes, please give me your opinion on them. I was talking to Nicola about that last night and how it's a meme that I love. I love the "It's Dat Boy" memes, but they don't obviously make any sense. Like I actually looked up where Is That Boy came from, and it didn't really come from anywhere. Like, there's no actual, like, there's no joke behind, there's no clever joke really behind the actual frog on the unicycle that is that boy. It's just the fucking hilarious imagery of a fucking frog on a unicycle, a shittily rendered CG frog on a unicycle. Did I say motorcycle? That would be interesting as well. A unicycle, but that's more hilarious, I think. What about a motor unicycle? Is that a thing? Maybe. Probably. I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm really. I thought I was gonna see more like news just kind of pop up. More Godzilla vs. Evangelion promos continue to give fans new items to collect. I guess that whole thing that we touched on that on DFOS number 78, where we also talked about the Godzilla Resurgence trailer. That whole thing, Godzilla vs. Evangelion, seems to be like a marketing thing. Like, it actually has nothing to do with like an actual like movie or anything, any story thing where Godzilla's gonna cross into the Evangelion universe. It just seems to be like, if you like these two things, we're making a bunch of merchandise that combines them together. So if you're into that, go for it. So I guess if you're into that, you can give that a go. Yeah, there's a lot of really boring news that isn't really grabbing my attention. Comic-Con comes to Staten Island for the first time. It's unfortunate for Comic-Con. I'm kidding. I've never actually been to Staten Island, but, you know, you see it from afar, and that's really enough. Yeah. Alright, let's go to what's trending. See if there's anything interesting there. Alright, there's something about Jupiter. I'm assuming that's the planet. Yeah, it's got NASA in there somewhere, so it's probably about the planet. Not the Roman god. Jupiter. NASA study shows Jupiter's moon may have similar chemical balance to Earth. Okay. The study modeled how much hydrogen and oxygen Europa's ocean could produce without the aid of volcanic activity. NASA plans to send a mission to Europa within 10 years to investigate. So it sounds like the idea is supposed to be that there's... Okay, well, this says it a little bit more fucking blatantly. Jupiter's moon has the right conditions for life. Well, that's good to know. It looks really weird. It looks like the surface of this moon has, like, these brown, like... They almost look like tree... What are they called? I'm an idiot. Tree roots. It's early in the morning, in that it's 12:30. They look like it's got, like, tree roots all over it, like, you know, brown-looking veins and shit. So I don't know what that's about. But... it looks cool. So, and I don't know, that's cool that it can support life. But there's been a lot of, I mean, that's not that surprising to me, because there's been a lot of talk about how, like, a lot of the different moons around some of the other planets in our solar system could probably support life a lot better than any planet that we've ever come across in our, you know, interstellar observations. So I guess that makes sense. Cool. I guess we're gonna try and make water there in 10 years. That's awesome about it. Bernie Sanders, presidential candidate's campaign, says Hillary Clinton reneged? What the hell does that word? Am I an idiot and I'm just not interpreting that properly? Sanders' campaign said Clinton is breaking a February promise to hold 4 debates with the Vermont senator after she declined to debate with him on Fox News ahead of California's June 7th primary. Yeah, that's right. The primaries aren't even over. Most people would not know that based on the way the media has been talking about it. But yeah, he's still in the running. Interesting. I'm very happy about that. I like Bernie Sanders a lot. So I hope that he's still going to stick around for a while. Not really much to say on that, but it just sounds like Bernie wants to debate with her again and she doesn't want to. I know that was an issue at one point anyway, that she was like, he's got to tone it down and then I'll talk to him. And that seemed to be the conversation. That was a while ago, though, so maybe all the shit that she got for that, you know, probably was enough of a backlash that I think she did debate with him after that. So this must be a different thing that this is about, but I don't know. The campaign is the election is a fucking joke right now, in my opinion. I voted in the primaries, and after that I was just kind of like, this looks like a real shit show. So I don't know, man. Who knows? America, right? We're all involved somehow. All right, this is about genetics, so I kind of like this. Myriad Genetics. Patients Alleged lab denied access to their genetic test results in legal complaint. Oh, this sounds boring, but let's see if it gets more interesting. I mean, it's trending on fucking Facebook, so it's probably really boring. Oh, it looks like there's more fun stories after this, though, so that's cool. On May 19th, the American Civil Liberties Union filed a complaint with the U.S. government over the lab's refusal to release the full details of 4 patients' test results on the BRCA1 and BRCA2 genes. Again, I don't know what that means or why I'm supposed to care, so let's find out. Scientific American is a good site. I like them a lot, so why don't we go to their version of this story. Erica Check Hayden. All right, this is today, the 24th of May, 2016. And a genetic testing firm, Myriad Genetics, is facing a legal challenge. People say the company refused them access to their own genomic data in violation of a U.S. government rule of medical records. So, basic idea is they were like, "Hey, you apparently did some genetic tests on us, and you won't let us look at it, so we're gonna sue you." Which I guess makes sense. I'm just wondering, like, what exactly was the test? I'm really confused. Like, what exactly was the deal here that made the company go, no, you can't look at it. It's ours now. It's a secret. Myriad has now agreed to release the data to those individuals. The patients are pressing ahead with their complaint to the government. Okay, so they're still going to sue them, even though it looks like they've gotten a look at that genetic testing now. The skirmish is the latest. This is a continuous thing in a long-running war between Myriad and data-sharing advocates, and it could ultimately force the company to provide genetic information when patients could then share with scientists. I feel like I'm watching an episode of a TV show right now, but I'm in like the second season, and it's like episode 5. It's like the second part of a 2-parter. I feel like there's a lot of backstory that I'm missing here. I've never heard of Myriad Genetics before. We talk a lot about genetic research on DFOS whenever we talk about science news. I guess DFOS is the other regular news thing that I forgot that I do. But DFOS is weird because we're always really behind with the science news because I have to save so much of it, and then by the time we get to it, we never get the chance to talk about like the newer stuff. It's always the old stuff. So this is more current. The patients who are represented by American Civil Liberties Union filed the complaint on May 19th with the government alleging that Myriad of Salt Lake City, Utah, had declined to release complete tests of the genes BRCA1 and BRCA2. Some variants of these genes are linked. Oh, okay, so it's going to explain it now, finally. They're linked to higher risks of cancer. For others, the link to disease is unclear, or the variants are considered to be harmless. Myriad refused to report benign BRCA variants back to patients when they requested this data in February. The ACLU says that the company's denial violates a rule released by the U.S. government in January that gives patients the right to obtain their full lab results under the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. So it seems like the idea here is that there's apparently a gene that may or may not be connected to cancer. People are getting it studied, and if it's benign, they're not releasing it, and if it's not, it might, I don't know, I'm still not really clear exactly. Breast cancer survivor Anne-Marie Cicerella, one of the people who filed the complaint, said that she wants access to her complete data so that she can share it with scientists who are trying to understand the genetic contributions to cancer. Quote from her, "I want to see that the research community has access to every bit of data that has been generated from my body," she said. Okay, I guess that makes... So I guess the idea is supposed to be that they're like picking and choosing what they release. Like if it doesn't show any kind of relation to what they're trying to prove, I guess, in terms of like that these genes cause cancer, I guess that's the stuff that they're withholding, and they're like, no, we want all of it because we deserve all of it, and who knows, some of it might be helpful to other scientists. So I agree with that, certainly. I don't understand why it's like, if it's benign, we're holding on to it. We don't want you to have it because we didn't prove anything with it. It's like, well, somebody else might. So I guess that's the idea here. I don't know. I still feel like I'm missing a lot of backstory. We believe the complaint. Okay, so this is Myriad made a follow-up quote to the one that Cicerella had just said there. She apparently put in 3 complaints. So this is after 3 times of her going, please let me see my fucking genetic tests. And she was like, this is what Myriad said. "We believe the complaint lacks merit and should not be accepted. No, I think that that's really shady that you're like, there's only certain stuff that we're going to release and certain stuff we're not. Again, unless there's a better reason that they just haven't said, because right now it just seems like they're being shady for no good reason. This article's like kind of long though, and I'm a little bit, I'm not losing interest, but I'm struggling to get to a point that I can really discuss here because so much of it is like, well, here's a little bit, now here's a bunch of fucking bullshit. This article is a little bit overwritten. It's not getting to the point quick enough, in my opinion. Cicerella and the others who brought the complaint are pressing ahead with the case. Blah 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 blah. Okay, so we already kind of covered all this part of it. Yeah, apparently these guys have a record. Have like a reputation of this, so this is not the first time. Yeah. Definitely. Okay, so it looks like this is about it. I don't know, interesting. Genetic research. People are hanging on to benign results. Don't know why. They just want to be shady because being shady makes you look kind of cool. So if Myriad wants to look cool, they're doing a really shitty job of it. So good for them. I see a Nile Crocodile article, and I love reptiles, and I was always fascinated with reptiles as a kid. So we're going to fucking click on that one. I'm going to make these go for like a half hour. How much do we have as of the current moment? I haven't even been looking at my webcam. We have 21 minutes, so we'll go for a little bit longer. I think we'll do maybe this and one other article, and then we'll wrap up. So, all right, Nile Crocodile. 3 reptiles captured near Miami. More of species like... Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, cool. More species likely in Florida, researchers say. Very interesting. All right. Video. Florida Museum herpetologist Kenneth Crisco has confirmed through DNA testing that Nile crocodiles are in Florida. Holy shit. Alright, I want to make sure I get a good website because people are dumb when it comes to writing about reptiles. See, there's a New York Times article. I don't know if I want that just because I want to make sure I'm reading it from someone who fucking... Oh, I fucking Love Science did an article on it. I want to read that one because I trust them. I trust them more than the New York Times. Isn't that funny? Just in terms of, like, I feel like if I read the New York Times article, and if it maybe wasn't written by somebody who has any real knowledge of reptiles and of herpetology or whatever, or even just biology or just animals at all, it might be really hard to read because people can be idiots and it's hard to take them seriously then. So, not that I wouldn't know anything about that, but, you know. What are you going to do? Man-eating Nile crocodiles have been found in Florida. I love how blatant and to the point I fucking love science is. That's why I fucking love science. The Sunshine State is no stranger to giant crocodilians stalking its swamps. No, this is true. There are actually already crocodiles in Florida. There's American crocodiles, which are a very small species. Not small in terms of size, small in terms of population species in America, and specifically in Florida, on the southern coast of the United States. Very small population. They only live in certain parts, and of course, Florida is more known for being home to American alligators and such. So the American crocodiles are kind of like not even in the public consciousness. I'm sure if you ask somebody like, "Do crocodiles live in America?" they'd be like, "Fuck no." And in reality, yes, they do. And now, apparently, even more so, because scientists from the University of Florida have found man-eating Nile crocodiles. I'm getting a little annoyed that they keep saying that. Yes, Nile crocodiles have eaten men many times in the past. They are one of the most dangerous reptiles on the planet. But, I mean, hippos are more dangerous than they are, and they don't even eat the people that they kill. So, let's just be fair is all I'm saying. I want to find out how exactly they figured this out, though, because they said it was through DNA. It's not like they captured one, unless I'm missing something here. From 2000 to 2014, the team studied populations of crocodiles in Miami-Dade County and Hendry. Using DNA analysis, the researchers found 3 juvenile Nile crocs, 2 of which were found swimming in the Everglades, and the other just relaxing on a house porch in Miami. Now, I've got some questions, because I'm assuming that what happened here, and I may be able to get into it, is that somebody fucking flew a whole bunch of Nile crocodile babies from the Nile, presumably, and brought them to Florida, because Florida's got a bad fucking history of people illegally smuggling in exotic animals, particularly reptiles. That's why they have a problem with pythons and a whole bunch of other shit. They have a huge invasive species problem. and it sounds like this is just one more really, really, really bad chink in that armor, because Nile crocodiles are huge predators, and they'll compete with anything that is in the Everglades. Like, even, especially your alligators and your American crocodiles. Like, American crocodiles have nothing on a Nile crocodile, just in terms of size and aggression and territoriality. It's probably not the best for them. So using DNA analysis, they found 3 juvenile crocodiles. The odds that the few of us who study Florida reptiles have found all of the Nile crocs out there is probably unlikely. I would assume so as well, especially if they found out through DNA research, because it sounds to me like maybe, and I don't know if this is scientifically possible, I don't see why not, maybe the Nile crocs are mating with the American crocodiles and they're mixing populations, and only through the DNA testing is how they were able to figure out that some of them were Nile crocodiles. But maybe that was just like they found a crocodile and they were like, this looks kind of like a Nile crocodile, and they did a test on it and found out it was. So it sounds like that might also be the case, but maybe they'll explain it a little more. We know that they can survive in the Florida wilderness for numerous years. We know that they can grow quickly here, and we know their behavior in their native range. And there's no reason to suggest that would change here in Florida. Well, no, because Florida is already like the perfect environment for any reptile. Maybe not necessarily Nile crocs, because Nile crocs don't live in that kind of like swampy, very like trees and vegetation everywhere kind of environment. No, they live in a more dry, wildebeest coming to feed down by the water type of deal. Like, there's not even, you don't really even have the massive prey that a Nile crocodile would eat in its native, in its native Africa. Like, I mean, Florida's got some big mammals and everything, but nothing like a wildebeest or anything like that. So the study of their DNA also revealed that they were genetically very similar, suggesting they had come from the same source. I mean, well, they're the same fucking species. Excuse me. Where that source is, however, remains unclear. The study did point out that groups of Nile crocodiles have been imported for display at zoological attractions, such as Disney's Animal Kingdom, and to supply the state's pet trade. Well, pet trade for Nile crocodiles? I mean, that's not a thing that exists. Legally, certainly, but again, I think they might mean the illegal pet trade that does go on in Florida. Florida has more introduced species than any other governed area on Earth. Yeah, that's true. Along with their endemic American alligator Mississippianipus. I can't pronounce that. That's the Latin, or it might not be Latin, but that's the scientific name for the American alligator. There are 4 other known species of crocodilians that aren't native to the state. However, the newly found... No, that's not true. American alligators, unless I'm wrong, are native. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I could be. I don't know as much about American crocodiles that I probably would like to. They're not like a very well documented species. I think that's just because their population is so small. But I didn't know there were 4 other native. I didn't know there were 4 other crocodilians that lived in Florida. I would expect caimans probably have made it there at this point, just because they're bad in the pet trade. Like, they constantly get shipped around from state to state, and people keep buying them and then releasing them, and they're a big issue, just because the issue with caimans is, caimans, for those of you who may not be familiar with herpetology, they're like a smaller version of a crocodile. There's 4 different kinds of crocodilians, 4 different kinds of big groups of scary-looking dragon things that live in water. You've got your crocodiles, of course, your alligators, which are the 2 big ones. Then you got 2 smaller groups, and you've got all kinds of different species mixed in with the alligators and crocodiles. And then you got your caimans, which is only a couple of different kinds of species. And you got your gharials, which I think there's only 2. I don't know. But your alligators only have 2 species anyway, so even then that's sort of similar. But alligators are more popular than gharials, so fuck off. Caimans. Caimans are tiny compared to your other crocodilians, and they're more easily, contained and more easily kept as pets. You see them all the time in zoos. And I actually went to a pet store in North Carolina as a kid. I went there on vacation with my family, and there was a caiman in the pet store. They weren't selling it. It was just there for show, but they had a fucking caiman. So that just shows you that they're a lot more likely to be taken as pets than a Nile crocodile. That's a lot more tricky, since they grow to be... God, how big did Nile crocs get? I'm not exactly sure, but I'm thinking it's within the range of 15 feet. Because they're not as big as a saltwater. Saltwater grows to 26, like at max, I think. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been in that world, but herpetology and shit. But I think it's like 15 feet or so. So that's certainly not tiny. The Nile crocodile is native to sub-Saharan Africa. Oh, it's going to tell me. Can grow up to 5.5 meters, 18 feet. So yeah, I was within the right ballpark in length, and is famed for its particularly aggressive temperament. That's the thing, is that they're extremely aggressive because of the environment that they live in. They have to be. They live in a very, very harsh ecosystem in terms of competition with other animals. In particular, hippos. They're fighting for the waterways all the time. And and reptiles are extremely territorial as well. So when you've got a big mammal encroaching on their territory, it's kill or be killed, especially with hippos. So, I mean, usually hippos fuck the crocs up though, because hippos are bigger. But the competition is really fierce between those two species, just in terms for space. But they eat anything and everything from zebras, buffaloes, hippos, baby hippos, mind you. They can't take down a full-grown hippo because they're way bigger than they are and way more dangerous. Which is hilarious, given that they're fucking, hippos are. I think hippos are. They're very similar. I think they're evolutionarily speaking, hippos are very similar to whales, and that makes a lot of sense considering that a lot of whale species are also not very aggressive, but they're very protective and able to fuck things up, even though they're not very aggressive. We don't think of them as like man-eaters or anything, So that's what I'm saying. Making it one of the most dangerous creatures in the world. Saltwater crocodiles are more dangerous, though. Between 2010 and 2014, they were blamed for over 480 attacks. Oh, and humans was the other thing that they put in that list. So yes, Nile crocodiles, like every other species of crocodiles, are man-eaters. They will kill and eat people. So they were blamed for over 480 attacks and 123 fatalities on humans in Africa. Yeah, well, that's what happens when people go up to the water, man. It's their fault. No, I mean partially. They made a choice. Florida's subtropical climate makes it a comfortable environment for other non-native tropical species to flourish, including the Burmese python, and Cuban tree frog, both of which have settled in the area. Yeah, pythons are an established thing in Florida now, which is scary. Burmese pythons are the biggest snakes on the planet lengthwise, not thickness-wise. I think that's still, anacondas are like thickness-wise the biggest. But Burmese pythons they're the ones that you hear about where it's like, we found a snake that's over 30 feet long, holy shit! That's a Burmese python. While Nile crocodiles turning up on people's porches might seem like an issue in itself, it's certainly a concern, the study also hopes to highlight the wider problem of invasive species disturbing the ecosystem of Florida. This is a quote from that Crisco guy they mentioned in the beginning. My hope as a biologist is that the introduction of Nile crocodiles in Florida opens everyone's eyes to the problem of invasive species that we have here in our state, Crisco added. Now here's another one, but this time it isn't just a tiny house gecko from Africa. That is a good point because, Nile crocodiles are extremely, again, certainly one of the most dangerous species of crocodilians, more so than your American alligators and American crocodiles and any other crocodilian species that's probably already made it to Florida. It will reign supreme if their population sticks, which is scary because, again, hyper aggressive, apex predator type of deal. They will take over, and that's a problem. So it's a little bit scary. I'm interested to see where this goes in a couple of years because, again, if their population sticks, which I imagine they'll try to prevent, obviously, because any apex predator, an invasive apex predator, is one of the worst things that you could possibly have, just because it'll eat all of the food supply for all the other apex predators. They'll get wiped out, and whatever they were eating, if the other apex predator's not eating it, will go crazy, and things will get fucked up. So save the earth, kids, as Godzilla vs. Hedorah always used to say. And still does say if you pop in the DVD. It's not like it stopped saying it. Anyway, so look out for Nile crocodiles in Florida, kids, because it could go badly for you and your little puppy dog. That's the big concern when you talk about invasive predators in Florida. Is people are always concerned about their pets and everything. So definitely a concern with Nile crocs. So look out for that. All right, so I think that's gonna do it. We're exactly at like a half hour over. Actually, I wasn't even looking at the timer. So we're over a half hour. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I had a really good time doing this. I hope it was enjoyable to watch or listen to. I know it wasn't very visually interesting because I was looking at articles the whole time. But I hope you enjoyed my commentary on some of this new stuff. Next time I'll probably save some stuff. Or I don't know. I kind of liked the sort of like laid back nature of just going through my feed and seeing something that interested me. The only thing is it's just a concern of like, will you always find something? And I would hope so. So I found stuff today. So I hope that that'll continue. So I'm going to do this again, maybe later in the week. If not, definitely next week. I'll definitely do one of these per week. But I was also thinking about doing like a night version, because like this is early in the morning, or it was supposed to be earlier, but it ended up being 1 o'clock in the afternoon now. But maybe I'll do a night one later in the week at like, later. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. But I enjoyed doing this, so I'll definitely do it again. So what did you guys think, though? Leave it down in the comments. And any thoughts you might have on any of the news I covered, please leave that down in the comments as well. So until next time, everyone, I'm Bill Worster, a.k.a. Zazubaar. And remember, keep a lookout for Nile Crocodiles, kids, because they'll fuck you up. Good night, everybody. Or good day, I suppose. Not really good night, because, again, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I bid you good day.